Hello, my dear students. I hope you are doing very fine at home. Please be safe and take a good care of yourself. And first of all, I want you to be aware that you will have your exams at the beginning of the second term. So that's not a totally holiday for you. This is just we are keeping ourselves safe from the virus. So I want you to do some things at home. First of all, I want you to focus on the screen with me now because this is so important for you. And I want you to study hard so you can be ready for the exams. You can get high marks in the exams. So, second thing, you have to do some sports to keep your body strong, your immune system strong, and you have to eat healthy food to make yourself strong, to make your body strong, to protect yourself from the viruses or the any kind of virus. Here in this presentation we are discussing the grammar structures, or we are revising the grammar structure. First, we have the adverbs of frequency, and I know that you remember the adverbs of frequency very well. We have 5 adverbs of frequency. I know you remember them. First, we have always, usually, sometimes, hardly ever, and never. These are the 5 adverbs of frequency. Second, you remember the past tense and the regular verbs in the past tense that we add the d or ed or ied to the verb to say that the verb or this action verb happened yesterday, or in a past tense, or 1 hour ago, or the last week, or last night, or whatever you want to say, just describing the verb in a past tense. And let's get started. First, we are starting with the adverbs of frequency, and we have this small story. This small story called Neighborhood Hero, and the story has 4 characters. This is the little kid called Victor and his dad, and they are neighbors for Mr. Garcias and his cat called Kitty. Let's read the story. Victor is outside. There is a noise. It's Mr. Garcia's cat. Kitty, it's meowing. Kitty hardly ever meows. Kitty hardly ever meows. You remember hardly ever? I know you remember hardly ever. We use hardly ever when we want to say that something hardly ever happens. Like something that happens once a month or once a year. Or that means that cat doesn't like to meow. So, if it meows now, that means that something wrong happened. Keep listening because you're gonna know it now. Kitty hardly ever meows. Victor looks into Mr. Garcia's yard. Mr. Garcia is an old man. Victor sometimes helps him. Victor sometimes helps him, like 50-100% helps him. Not all the time helps him, and never helps him. No, it's 50% helps him. Mr. Garcia usually sits outside. Usually means that he likes to sit outside. Means that he sits outside most of the days of the week, like 5 or 6 days of the week. So Mr. Garcia usually sits outside, but Victor can't see him. Kitty jumps over the fence and meows. What's wrong? Victor calls his dad. Dad, where's Mr. Garcia? Mr. Garcia always goes to the store on Saturday. That means that Mr. Garcia goes to the store on every Saturday because he always goes to the store on Saturday. But Dad, Kitty never comes into our yard. Never comes into our yard. Victor and Dad go next door. They see smoke. There is a fire in Mr. Garcia's garage. Dad calls the fire department. Mr. Garcia comes back. He says, Victor, you are a hero. But Victor smiles and says Kitty is the hero. That was the story. Let's see the questions. We already read the text and let's circle these words. We have never, hardly ever, sometimes, usually, and always. Find and complete the sentences. Kitty meows. Kitty meows. Yes, Kitty hardly ever meows. That's correct. Number 2, Victor helps him. Victor helps him. Victor sometimes helps him. That's correct. Mr. Garcia sits outside. Mr. Garcia likes to sit outside. Oh, Mr. Garcia usually sits outside. Mr. Garcia goes to the store on Saturday. He goes to the store on every Saturday. That means Mr. Garcia always goes to the store on Saturday. Kitty comes into our yard. It's not their yard, but this time only it came. So Kitty never comes into our yard. Thank you. Let's read about the grammar structure. The adverbs of frequency. We use adverbs of frequency to say how often we do something. How often we do something. Like, Mr. Garcia always go to the store on Saturday. Kitty never comes into the yard or into our yard. So we put the adverbs of frequency after the subject. So if we want to make a sentence, we put the subject first or the subject pronouns first, and then the adverbs, and then the verb or the rest of the sentence. Like, I always go to school by bus. Okay? So if we find 4 checks, we say it's always. If we find 3 checks, we say it's usually. If we find 2 checks, we say it's sometimes. If we find 1 check, we say it's hardly ever. If we found it's wrong check, we say that it's never. Look, the adverb comes before the verb or after the subject. We can ask questions with ever to find out about people's habits. Do you ever go to the store? Yes, I do. I usually go with my mom. Let's complete these sentences with the adverbs of frequency. This is a small conversation between a boy and a girl. The boy asks or starts the conversation. Do you ever go to the store? Yes, I do. I go to the store with my mom. We have 4 checks. Yes, I always. Yes, I do. I always go to the store with my mom. That's correct. Do you ever buy candy at the store? Hmm. Yes, I do. I buy a candy bar. What about you? We have two checks. So that could be yes, sometimes. Yes, I do. I sometimes buy a candy bar. And what about you? I buy candy. There's one check. So that means that he doesn't like the candy. So I hardly ever buy candy. But I buy an ice cream in summer. Three checks? That's usually. That means that he likes the ice cream. So, but I usually buy an ice cream in summer. Thank you. Write the adverbs of frequency in the chart. Number one, that's wrong check. Yes, that's never. One check, hardly ever. Two checks, sometimes. Three checks, usually. Four checks, not always. That's correct. Choose and write the correct words. That's according to the number of the checks. Vector helps Mr. Garcia. Yes, that's sometimes. That's correct. Victor sometimes helps Mr. Garcia. Victor sees Kitty. Three checks. That means usually. So Victor usually sees Kitty. That's correct. Victor plays inside in summer. Victor plays inside in summer. One check. That's hardly ever because that's in summer. Number four, Kitty comes into the yard or comes into our yard. That's never because we see a wrong check. Thank you. This is the simple past. You remember the simple past? With the regular verbs, when we want to describe that we did something yesterday, we did something the last month, the last year, or the last night, or 1 hour ago, 2 hours ago, or something, we use the past tense, we use some regular verbs. What is the meaning of regular verbs? Verbs that like the D or ED or IED. That's called regular verbs. Let's read this small story and let's circle or highlight the verbs or the regular verbs in the simple past. Grandma's toys. I asked my grandma about when she was a child. Grandma talked. I asked my grandma about when she was a child, and grandma talked about her toys. She didn't play computer games. She played board games with her sisters and brothers. They listened to music on big round records, or they listened to the radio. They usually played outside with their friends. They played games like skipping and hopscotch. Her brothers climbed trees. Her brothers climbed trees and fished and fished. All the neighborhood children played together. Many things are different now. Many things are different now. I don't listen to records, but I play outside with my friends. I listen to the radio and I watch TV. I play computer games too. Let's see the questions. Read and circle present or past. Let's see. First one, she played outside. Played, is it present or past? That's a regular verb with the ed, so that must be past. Number two, we play outside. Present or past? Play, play. That's a regular verb. Without the ed, so that's present. It means that we play outside now, not in the past tense. Number three, he climbs trees, not climbed trees. That means it's present. He climbs trees now. Number four, they climbed trees. Wow, that's a regular verb with the ed, so that's a past tense. That's correct. They listened to the radio. They listened to the radio. That's ed with the regular verb. That's past tense. Number six, I listen to the radio. Not listened. Yes, that's the regular verb, but without the ed, so that's not past, so that must be present. That means I listen to the radio now. Thank you. Read and learn. Simple past regular verbs, the affirmative and the negative statements. We use the simple past to talk about finished actions in the past. We make the past form of regular verbs by adding ed, like grandma played board games. We make the negative past form with didn't or did not. That's a long form and short form, and I know you remember this very well. P for the verb. So we put didn't or did not before the verb. Like, she didn't play computer games. Affirmative, I or you, he, she, it, we, you, they played. All of the subject pronouns we put ed with the regular verbs. Negative, we put didn't or did not before the verb, so we say I didn't or I did not play. You didn't, he didn't, she didn't, it didn't, we didn't, you didn't, they didn't play. And that's it. Watch out for verbs that ends in e, just add the d only. So if we found any verb that ends with e, we put d only, because we cannot double the e and put d at the end of the verb. So live ends with the e, so we put d only, so it will be lived. Dance will be danced. And let's see the example. And this is a small conversation between a boy and a girl. Complete the sentences with past forms of the verbs. Boy, this is my grandpa when he was young. He in Canada. He in Canada. We want to use live. I have to ask myself a question before I add d or ed. Is this verb ends with e or not? Yes, it ends with e. So we add d only, so he lived in Canada. The girl, was this his tree house? Yes, it was. The tree house was great. Yes, it was. Grandpa, the tree. We want to use climb. Is it ending with e or not? Not. So we have to put ed. Yes, that's correct. Yes, it was. Grandpa climbed the tree, and he in the tree house with his friends, and he play. Is it ending with E or not? It's not ending with E. So we put ed, the tree, and he played. He played in the tree house with his friends. Thank you. Write the past forms of these verbs. Play. It's not ending with the E, so played we bought ed only. Watch, the same thing, we bought ed only. Climb, the same thing, we bought ed only, or we add ed only. Live, we have E at the end of the verb. So here we add D only. It will be lived with one E. Number 5, listen. It's not ending with the E, so we put ed, listened. Dance, yes, it ends with E. So we put D only, danced. That's correct. Remember the text on page 24, complete the sentences. Climbed, listened, played, talked. Number 1, Grandma about her toys. Yes, she talked about her toys. That's correct. Grandma and her brothers and sisters to the radio. That's correct. They listened to the radio. Number 3, grandma's brothers trees and fished. Yes, they climbed trees and fished. All the neighbors' children, all the neighborhood children outside together played. That's correct. Thank you. Let's read this, and we have to write the verbs between brackets in a past form of a verb. This is my grandpa. My grandpa is old now, and he lives with us now. Before, he lived in a village in the country. That's before. That's in the past. That's a verb, ends with E. So we put D only. So he lived in a village in the country. That's correct. Grandpa on a farm. Work. Work? No. It doesn't end with E. So we put ED only. Grandpa worked on a farm. He worked on a farm. Yes. When I was very young, we the farm. Yes, it does end with the E, so we visited with ed. We visited the farm. I like the farm very much. Like ends with E. I put D only. I liked the farm very much because I love the animals. Love ends with E, so I put D only. That's correct. Because I loved the animals. My brothers and I watched the horses. Watch? No. It doesn't end with the E. So I put ed to the verb. My brothers and I watch the horses. And we play with the animals. Play doesn't end with the E, so I put ed. And we played with the animals. The farm was great. Thank you. This is how can we ask a question in the past. How can we make the sentence or change the sentence to be a question in the past with the regular verbs? Yes, we use did. Also, yes, that's correct. Also, we use did with not in the negative form. So if we want to ask a question with did, we say the verb without D or ed. You have to remember this. The D and the infinitive for. We use did to ask yes or no questions about the past. What is the meaning of yes or no questions? The questions that I answer to it by yes or no only. Like, did he travel by train? Yes, he did. Oh, no, he didn't travel by train. He traveled by bus. You got it? So we ask by did and we answer by yes, did, or no, didn't. Did you, or did he, or did she, or did it, or did you, or did it, or did they, sorry, or did they walk? Yes, I did. Yes, he did. Yes, she did. Yes, it did. Yes, we did. Yes, they did. Or, no, I didn't. No, he didn't. No, she didn't. No, it didn't. No, we didn't. No, they didn't. That's a piece of cake. Easy peasy. We ask information questions with question words like where, what, and how. We know that. In this simple past, we use the question word before did only. So if we make a question from a sentence by did, like, did he travel by train? We put only the WH questions like where, what, how, why, who before did. Like, who did this? Like, where did he travel? Like, how did he travel? He traveled by train. But I cannot answer the questions on this questions with yes or no. The answers cannot be yes or no on these questions or in these kind of questions if I use the WH words or WH questions where, what, how. Okay? Where did you start? What did you learn? How did you travel? I started in London. What did you learn? I, or we, or they learned about boats. How did she travel? She traveled by train. I hope you get that very well. That's a piece of cake. Let's complete the questions with the question words. This story is about a girl called Laura, and she lived 150 years old. Whoa. Did she live? We need a word starting with the WH, like what, where, who, how. Oh, we're asking about the place. So where did she live? Yes, that's correct. So the answer will be she lived in lots of places in the US. Her family moved a lot. That's pretty easy. When you ask about a place, you use where. Second, did they travel? Did they travel? Asking about the traveling, how they, the way they travel. So how did they travel? I use how when I want to describe the way I traveled by. That's correct. So how did they travel? They traveled on horses and in wooden carts. Pulled by the horses, by the way. Third, you like the story? The answer was yes. So, yes, that's correct. Did you like the story? Yes, I did. That's pretty easy. Thank you. Read the questions and complete the answers. Use the words in the box. Yes, he did. Yes, I did. Yes, they did. Yes, I did. First, we have to remember that if we ask a question by you, we change you to I in the answer. And if we ask a question with I, we change it to you in the answer. But hardly ever we ask a question by I. Like, did I clean the room? Well, I'm not asking myself because I already know that. Okay? So let's start. Number one, did you borrow a book from the library? Yes, I did. I borrowed Around the World in 80 Days. I love that story. Number two, did you like the story? Yes. You did? No. There's no yes you did. But I'm asking you, did you like the story? You're gonna answer and say, yes, I did. It was exciting. Did you like the story? Yes, I did. That means, yes, I liked the story. It was exciting. Number three, did Phileas really travel around the world in 80 days? Hmm, talking about them. So, yes, they did. Oh, no, that's not correct. Because Phileas is a person. Yeah, person, yes. And that's, we have here, yes, they did, or yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. That's correct. Did Phileas really travel around the world in 80 days? Yes, he did. But it was difficult. Number four, did the newspaper print stories about it? The last one. We're talking about the newspaper. That's a lot of things. So, yes, they did. It was exciting news. I hope you got that well. Thank you. Write the words in the correct order to make questions. We have the first one. Laura, live, question mark, a long time ago. Did. Oh, so I have to put did in the first thing, and then I have to put the subject, and then the verb, and then the rest of the sentence. Okay, did Laura live a long time ago? And then the question mark. Yes, that's correct. Did plus the subject plus the verb plus the rest of the sentence. Did Laura live a long time ago? Yes, she did, or no, she didn't. Okay. Number two, her family did question mark move. Did subject verb rest of the sentence. Did her family move? Yes, that's correct. Did her family move? Yes, they lived in a lot of places. Number three, did, where, live, she, that's a different question. We said that we put the WH questions or WH words before did. So we actually know that we put did and the subject and the verb and the rest of the sentence, but we put the WH word before did. So, where did she live? That's correct. Where did she live? I'm asking about the place, so she lived in many places in the US or whatever she lived in. Number four, did, how travel they? The same thing. How did they travel? How did they travel? Number five, she play games. Question mark, did. With her sisters. No WH words here. Okay, so the first thing, did. Subject, did she play games? The verb play. Did she play games with her sisters? So that's the question. Did she play games with her sisters? Yes, she did. Oh no, she didn't. Number six, did what? Question mark. Play they. We have a WH word here. So we put it in the first thing, and then we put did. So what did, and then a subject, and then the rest of the sentence. What did they play? What did they play? That's the question. I hope you got it. Thank you. That's it. I really thank you so much for your attention, and please, I want you to revise everything. I want you to answer these questions again. And if you find anything, you can go back in the video and you can listen again and you can learn whatever you want. Thank you very much for watching. Please stay safe at home. Please study hard to get high marks. And thanks for watching. Bye bye.